the crisp, chilly air calls for some warm recipes and apples for dessert. And this week, Mel has the perfect toasty warm meal.
The only thing better than a tailgate at Beaver Stadium on a beautiful fall day is when my kids are coming home for a tailgate at Beaver Stadium on a beautiful fall day. And this weekend, they're going to be feasting on a couple of my tailgating fall favorites. I'm going to be handing out my apple, raisin, and pecan streusel muffins for breakfast and serving up my succulent crock-pot apple and onion pulled pork sandwiches for dinner. Let's get started. And I've got a 6-pound pork shoulder, otherwise known as a pork butt. And if you're wondering about that name, it dates back to colonial times when these inexpensive cuts of meat were stored in casks or barrels that were called butts. And they were shipped from Boston to the colonies. And when they arrived wherever they were at their destination, the people would simply say, "The Boston butts have arrived," or "The butts from Boston have arrived." So I've melted 4 tablespoons of butter in my electric skillet, and I'm going to heat this to about 300 degrees. And I'm going to season this liberally with garlic powder, fresh grinding of sea salt, and pepper. I like to use a peppercorn blend because it's got a lot of great different peppery flavors in it, but black pepper is just fine. And I'm going to brown this pork on both sides, and it's going to take about 10 minutes per side. And while this first side is browning, we're going to get our other ingredients into the crock pot. And I'm starting with 2 really big onions that have been coarsely chopped, and about 3 or 4 really nice sized apples. These are Fuji's, and I just picked them off of my tree last night, so they're going in. Now I've got some aromatic spices and seasonings. I'm going to add 2 whole cinnamon sticks, 2 whole bay leaves, 6 whole cloves, and 6 whole allspice. And I'm going to season this mixture with the same seasonings I used for the pork. Nice amount of garlic powder, nice amount of sea salt, peppercorn blend to taste. And I love pepper, so I use a copious amount in my pulled pork sandwiches. It's been about 18, 19 minutes, and this is golden brown on both sides, and I'm just going to very carefully stick my fork in, pick this up at one end. See how beautifully brown that is on the bottom? And that's the fat side, known as the fat cap, or the top side. And we're going to very carefully, we're just going to pick this up and put it into the crock pot, fat side up. And that's the side with all of those wonderful seasonings. Now I'm going to add a half a cup of apple juice to our pan. I'm going to use a spatula to deglaze this. Gets all those wonderful brown bits loose from the bottom. This is where all of your flavor's at right now, folks. Now I'm going to carefully unplug my skillet. And as soon as this subsides just a little bit, and again, I'm working kind of backwards here, I'm left-handed, so I'm going to try to do this without hurting myself. I'm going to take my skillet and I'm going to pour all of these drippings into my crock pot. I'm going to put the lid on here and program this to cook on high for 2 hours, on low for 6 hours, and on warm for 2 hours, and then it's time to pull our pork. And a little tip from Mel is when it comes to tailgating, I like to do this right before I go to bed at night so that in the morning it's cooked all night long and it's ready for me to pull the pork and take it to the stadium. Because I couldn't keep our hungry camera crew here 8 hours today, I actually made some pulled pork last night. And I used a slotted spoon to remove all of my apples and onions from the liquid. I took the pork roast out and I began pulled it into bite-sized pieces with my fingertips. The bone pulls right out, slippery smooth and meat-free. And the first thing I do is I mix my pork with my apples and onions, and I'm going to begin adding the drippings to the pulled pork. And the secret is to only add enough so that it moistens and flavors the meat. You don't want a soggy mess up in your pulled pork sandwich. Just enough for flavor. And I'm going to start with about a half cup. And as I mix, I'm going to take my time and allow it to sit about 2 or 3 minutes in between additions of the drippings to allow the pork to actually absorb all of the liquid. When you live in Happy Valley, all roads lead to Beaver Stadium. And for me, there's no two ways about it. Tailgating is my favorite sport. It's all about fun, friends, and food. You can't lose at tailgate. For these and all of my Happy Valley recipes, just go to my website.
Be sure to tell us what some of your favorite fall recipes are on our Facebook page.